I could never believe that good, decent non-Muslims would go to hell. People who were generous, kind, hardworking, simply because they don't believe in Islam. It was always something that troubled me, and I used to try and rationalize it and explain it away in many ways. One of the ways was I used to use a couple of verses in the Quran which are almost identical. I'll read one of them to you now. I'll read it from the Tafsir of Ibn Kathir. This is the Tafsir of Ibn Kathir. Ibn Kathir, Al-Mujallad Al-Awwal, the first volume. There are 4 volumes. And this is the verse, because I want to read the Tafsir, so because I think that's quite interesting. But the verse I used to use was this. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, those who believe. وَالَّذِينَ هَادُوا, those who are Jews. وَالنَّصَارَى, and Christians. وَالصَّابِئِينَ, and Sabians. مَنْ آمَنَ بِاللَّهِ, those who believe in God. وَالْيَوْمُ الْآخِرِ, and the last day. وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا, and do good works. فَلَهُمْ أَجْرُهُمْ, they will have their reward عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ, with their Lord. وَلَا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ, and they will not have any fear upon them. وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزُنُونَ, and they will not be sad. So I used to say, well, this shows that some Christians and Jews will go to heaven, but in fact it doesn't. It's agreed by all the scholars that this actually is referring to people before Muhammad came, that the Christians and Jews who followed their religions in those times would go to heaven, but when Muhammad came they had to believe in Muhammad. And the Quran makes that very, very clear. There are many other verses, and I'm going to quote you some. First, let me just read the tafsir of Ibn Kathir on this particular verse, just to make this very, very clear. And he says that Iman al-Yahud, the belief of the Jews that it is talking about, أنه من تمسك بالتوراة, that those who held on to the Torah, was Sunnat Musa, and the example of Moses, alayhi salam, upon him be peace, حتى جاء عيسى, until Jesus came. فلما جاء عيسى, so when Jesus came, كان من تمسك بالتوراة وأخذ بسنة موسى, those who followed the Torah and the example of Moses, فلم يدعها, and didn't leave it, ولم يتبع عيسى, and didn't follow Jesus, كان هالكا, they will be destroyed, they will go to hell. So when Jesus came, all the Jews then had to follow Jesus, and if they didn't, then they would go to hell. And then of course we get to Jesus. What happens then? I think you can guess what's going on here. What Iman al-Nasara, so the belief of the belief that of the Christians that is accepted, and man tamassaka bil Injil, those who followed the Gospels, minhum, wa shara'a Isa, and the laws of Jesus, kana mu'minan maqbulan, they are believers who are accepted, minhu hatta ja'a Muhammad, until Muhammad came. Until Muhammad came. Hatta ja'a Muhammad. Lost my place now. Hatta ja'a Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. فَمَنْ لَمْ يَتَّبِعْ Muhammad, those who didn't follow Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, minhum وَيَدَعْ مَا كَانَ عَلَيْهِ, and leave, abandon what they were upon, what they used to follow, min sunnat Isa wal Injil, of the example of Jesus and the Gospels, كَانَ هَالِكًا, they will be destroyed, they will go to hell. And Ibn Kathir himself quotes another part of the Quran which makes this very, very clear, and it says, وَمَنْ يَبْتَغِي غَيْرَ الْإِسْلَامِ دِينًا, those who desire a religion other than Islam, فَلَنْ يُقْبَلْ مِنْهُ, it will not be accepted from him. وَهُوَ فِي الْآخِرَةِ, and he will be in the next life, مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ, of the losers. He will be of the losers. And there are many other verses that make it very, very clear that those who believe that Jesus is the Son of God, قَدْ كَفَرْ, have become kuffar. It says قَدْ كَفَرْ, There's another verse which says they are the worst of creatures and they'll be in hell forever. This is in Surah Al-Bayyinah, verse 6, for example. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا, those who disbelieve, مِنْ أَهْلِ الْكِتَابِ, of the people of the book, وَالْمُشْرِكِينَ, and the polytheists, فِي نَارِ جَهَنَّمْ, will be in the fire of hell, خَالِدِينَ, forever, فِيهَا خَالِدِينَ فِيهَا. أُولَئِكَ هُمْ, they are شر البرية, the worst of creatures. And why are they the worst of creatures? Because they didn't believe in Muhammad. And what's going to happen to them? They're going to be tortured and burnt in a very graphic way. Anyone who says that hell is not a real place, according to the Quran, it's a very real place. It's a very real, torturous, agonizing, excruciatingly horrible place. And I can give you plenty of verses, but I think 2 will do. This is verse 56 from Surah An-Nisa, and it says, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا, those who disbelieve, بِآيَاتِنَا, in our signs. سَوْفَ نُصْلِيهِمْ, we will burn them, نَارًا, in a fire. كُلَّمَا نَضِجَتْ جُلُودُهُمْ, every time their skins are burnt, بَدَّلْنَاهُمْ جُلُودًا غَيْرَهَا, we will change them for new skins. لِيَذُوقَ الْعَذَابِ. So, God is not satisfied with just killing them. No. He has to torture them in the most agonizing, excruciating, horrible way, burning off their skin in the fire, and every time it's gone, it's replaced. And of course the Mufassirun all explain that the skin is the place where you feel pain, and so this God is highlighting and showing that this excruciating pain will never subside. It will never go away. How lovely. What a lovely picture, this eternal excruciating pain. And I'll give you one more verse. There are plenty of verses about hell. It's full of very graphic verses about hell. This is verse 19 of Surah Al-Hajj, and it says, I'm reading from this Quran, by the way, Surah Al-Hajj. فَالَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا, so those who disbelieve, قُطِعَتْ لَهُمْ ثِيَابٌ مِّن نَارٍ, clothes of fire will be cut out for them. يُصَبُّ مِنْ فَوْقِ رُؤُوسِهِمْ, and poured on top of their heads will be al-hamim, boiling, scorching fluid. يُصْهَرُ بِهِ مَا فِي بُطُونِهِمْ, it will melt what is in their insides. وَالْجُلُودِ, and their skin. وَلَهُمْ مَقَامِعَ مِنْ حَدِيدٍ, and they will have hooked rods of iron. كُلَّمَا أَرَادُوا أَنْ يَخْرُجُوا مِنْهَا, every time they want to escape from it, get out from it, flee from it. مِنْ غَمٍ, from their misery and their pain and their suffering and their utter despair. أُعِيدُوا فِيهَا, they will be pushed back in, forced back in. وَذُوقُوا الْعَذَابِ, and this is a kind of like a speech that's said to them. Taste the punishment. ذُوقُوا الْعَذَابِ, taste it. It's turning the screw. It's kind of twisting the knife a little bit. It's so graphically violent and sadistic. Sometimes I hear people say, "Oh, it doesn't sound so bad in the Arabic." Actually, it does. It sounds worse in the Arabic. Before I go, I'd just like to ask one question. If you believe that all the good, decent English people, European people, American people, whoever you work with, if you really believe that they're all going to go to hell because they are not Muslims, how can you square that with a God who is supposed to be merciful and kind and compassionate and loving? And if you're saying that they will go to heaven because they're good people, how do you square that with what the Quran says? Best wishes, goodbye.